Hey there survivors, how's it going? Welcome back to ARK Survival Evolved. Today I'm going to share 10 tips around the user interface and game settings which I feel are essential to know, especially as a PvP player, and I've met players with thousands of hours that didn't know some of these tips, so please drop a like if you find this video helpful or learn something new yourself, and let's jump right in. So this first tip is around the craft slot item modifier button, and by default it's left alt, but I've changed my left alt so I got it as comma. But what it allows you to do is repair items on the fly as long as you got the resources in your inventory. So what I'll do, I'll just damage the bow a little bit, and then I'll hold the craft slot item modifier button and press the bow button 4, so comma and 4, and then it's repaired my bow, as long as you've got the resources in your inventory. Now if it's spears, bowlers, parachutes, anything that's stacked like that, then you just press the craft slot item button and the corresponding number of the thing on your hotbar, and it'll just craft as many as you want as long as you got the resources in your inventory. So this can be pretty handy to know, especially early game when you're doing a lot of foot PvP, because when you're running away from someone or even a dino or something and you need to craft an extra parachute or bowler quickly, going in your inventory can lose that precious time. You can drag an item from your crafting menu onto your hotbar, so then when you've got enough resources for it, it'll turn white and then you can craft it just by pressing the button. I know this is widely known about, but I thought I'd put it in for new players just in case they take a while to find this out. Get used to utilising your extended HUD. So you hold H to bring up your extended HUD, and it'll give you the information like time of day and temperature, etc, so you'll know if it'll be dark or light soon. And it's also useful for monitoring your stats in real time at the bottom right. So especially when you're using stamina, like when you're on a flyer or something and you're running away from someone, for example, and you need to know how much stamina you got left, you can just keep an eye on that. It also highlights any tames that you have nearby as well, like this. And you can also use the order add remove tame button as well, like this, so that'll show them as well without bringing up the rest of your HUD. I'm sure you've been in the situation where you've been killed off a dino or something and then you've had to spawn and run back and you know the area that it was in and you're just afraid it's going to get killed by a raptor or something. So this can be a lot easier to see a dino than just constantly trying to J whistle it or something. And it also shows up further than you can actually whistle your dino. So as you can see, it's showing up now and I'm whistling and the dinos can't hear me, so I carry on whistling and I keep on going towards, and now he can hear me. You can actually activate your HUD when you're in K mode. All you do is press backspace twice and up pops your HUD. Now when it's up, you just need to press it once to turn it off and then once to turn it back on again. But then when you leave K mode and then you go back into K mode, you need to press it twice again to activate it. But I haven't met many people who know about this. I found it out accidentally, and anybody I've actually asked personally hasn't known about it. Sometimes, do you ever wonder why you see somebody, you take a shot at them, and the shot doesn't connect, even though you know that you were dead in line with them? Well, if you bring out your spyglass, and you can't see any name or anything, then it's most likely going to be a rock that hasn't rendered in yet. So as you can see as I run up, the rock renders in. So a name will always show up with a spyglass. You can use your spyglass as a dead still sight. So you can just line up with somebody's head, for example, bring out your rifle, shoot, just make sure you obviously don't touch your mouse so it stays in exactly the same place and you'll be dead on. As you know, the sway of a scope on a rifle can be really annoying, so this completely eliminates that if you have the opportunity. The quickest way of uploading items to your upload is by clicking on the item and pressing T for quick transfer. A lot of people don't seem to realise this because normally when you're transferring stuff from your inventory you just hover over it and press T, you don't need to click on it. But when you're uploading to your ARK data, you actually need to click on it. And same for downloading, it's much quicker than dragging. So for a couple of quick tips on dragging unconscious bodies, my friend's going to knock himself out with some narc traps for 5 minutes. Now the quickest way of dragging someone is just by pressing G. You don't need to go into the radial wheel and press drag or anything, just go pretty close to them. I'll show you now. I'm spamming G, and there we go, we got to be about that close to drag someone. And you can also do it with tames. So with the parasaur I just press G, and there we go, I'm dragging him along. Now obviously dragging only works with unconscious or sleeping bodies or small dinosaurs. And you can only do it from smaller dinosaurs as well, like I think the parasaur is one of the biggest ones you can do it with. So with a Pteranodon, you don't even have to land on the ground, just press G as soon as you hit him and way, I'm flying off with him. Now this can be pretty handy for example, imagine if you're on a Pteranodon and your friend's being chased by Troodons or something and gets knocked out, and then you can quickly swoop down and drag him away. I don't know, that's just a random scenario. Unfortunately, you can't drag bodies with griffins or anything bigger. I tried from all angles and nah, you can't. And you definitely can't with Wyvern, that was the first thing I tried with. So every now and then ARK will update and it will completely reset your settings. So these are my settings for every time that happens. Now I won't go over the graphic settings in detail just because it really varies depending on your PC specs, but these are the settings that I used mainly aimed for PvP. So as you see, I have most things on low. It's mainly so people can't hide in the shadows and it does improve performance. Resolution scale should always be 100% if your PC can handle it. So then I'll apply that. And then for ground clutter density, distance and mesh level, drag them all the way down. High quality and isotropic filtering should always be on because it makes things look sharper at the edges of your screen. Distant field shadowing should be off, and I usually turn all these high quality material stuff off as well for PvP purposes. You'll also want to turn off light bloom and light shaft so nothing gets in your eye when you're fighting. And you want low quality level streaming off if possible as well. I usually use a custom crosshair, but that's usually only because the default one is just too big. Now it changes size with the general UI scale, but as you can see, the problem is that your stats at the bottom right of the screen and the UI all change with that as well. And the crosshair still isn't small enough for my liking. As you can see, I got my custom crosshair overlaid over it anyway. I don't want my camera shaking, so I turn camera shake scale all the way down, turn my field of view all the way up, but on my other game I've got an eye which pushes it even further. And then I usually put my mouse sensitivity all the way down, go into game, test it from there, and then move it. You also want to disable third person camera interpolation, so put that on so it doesn't do any weird things in third person. And there we go, it's looking better, but I just need to adjust my mouse settings a bit. Now onto the advanced settings tab. You'll want to turn off melee camera animation so the camera doesn't shake when you swing something. Turn on join notifications to see when people join a server. Turn off camera view bob so that the camera doesn't bob when you're running. Disable menu transitions will make popping into inventories and stuff instant so it doesn't fade. No tooltip delay will also make those little tooltips that pop up when you hover over something instant. Disabling the menu music is always a plus because we know how loud that is. Give default survivor items I always turn off so I don't spawn with everything and all the skins in my inventory every time. And then animation staggering and low quality animations should be off unless your PC actually struggles. Alright, onto my custom button mappings. So I'll just go through the buttons that I customize myself and for what reasons that I do it. Now toggle selfie cam I'll always change to left alt so it's nice and accessible. That to me is one of the most important controls to change. To access my own inventory I always use F. Then to access my target inventory is always my middle mouse button. So I just need to press middle mouse button when I go up to a dino or a storage thing of any sort and it'll access the inventory. I find that really handy. Craft slot item modifier I normally have as comma. No real reason, it's just easy for me to remember. Whistle all move to I normally have as period, but obviously that's up to you. Now your all neutral and all passive whistles should be really easily accessible, so I normally set them to my two side mouse buttons. Then I'll set attack this target to the tilde key, which is to the left of 1 and above tab, so that's nice and accessible when I want my dino to attack someone. And then whistle land this flyer I also want nice and accessible because I use a lot of flyers, so I use that as backslash. I would also advise setting these gamma values, and I normally set them to 2 of the F buttons, so say F5 and F6 for like a gamma 3 and a gamma 4. I normally like having 2 different gamma settings because then you just need to press tab, type in gamma, press enter and it'll go back to default anyway. But obviously it's totally up to you how you want to do your gamma settings. Alright survivors, I hope you found this video useful and an extra bonus if you learned something you didn't already know. Well, please drop a like, share the video and sub to the channel for plenty more ARK content to come. Take care and I'll catch you in the next one. Goodbye for now. Peace.